Welcome to November 2015. I'm Dadhichi from astrology.com.au and continuing the theme of last month's introduction, self-empowerment. And what does that entail? Because often these days, and it seems to apply across the planet, freedom seems to be related to this idea that we can do anything we want whenever we want. And so the notion of self-empowerment is naturally tied in with this idea of the freedom to do anything we want when we want, being equipped with that ability to choose our destiny at will. But a name that springs to mind is that of Nelson Mandela, who was jailed for 25 years in his cause and fight for the eradication of slavery and apartheid in South Africa. I think about him being jailed in what would be described as pretty horrible conditions, but never really deviating from his objective of removing apartheid from South Africa. Now there's a person who is self-empowered, yet at the same time constricted physically, legally, being in a prison. So the question is, how do we define self-empowerment? What is it that allows us to experience that freedom, even though outwardly we may be constrained by the circumstances? That self-empowerment comes from, first and foremost, an understanding of who we are, what we are as people, as individuals, but also our place in the collective, the communal and societal sense as well. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, what is it I'm here to do? So equipped with these two things, firstly, an understanding of who I am, and secondly, that clear and decisive insight into what I'm here to do, constitute the foundation of self-empowerment. Now, astrology is here to do exactly that. It's here primarily as a mechanism, a tool to help guide you in that understanding of who you are and what it is you're here to do, what you're supposed to do. I had a friend last night call me. She's been struggling with this idea of what to do. She's talented in a lot of different areas, and I do come across a lot of people, very close friends, who struggle with this idea for years. And it's more pronounced if, for example, you are a mother who has done her duty, you're finished with your job of rearing your children, you come out the other end maybe in your mid-40s, pardon me, you just don't know what it is you're supposed to do. And it's interesting how what we do tends to define who we are, when in fact it's quite the opposite. So that's the first little tip that I would give you. That is, you need to know who you are. One's identity with what one does in the initial stages is not all that great. For example, if you're doing something you detest and you identify with that, you're not going to feel too good. On the other hand, if you define who you are, I'm sure there'd be no question in Mozart's mind or Brad Pitt's mind from a very early age as to what their identity was. Mozart would unequivocally respond to the question of who are you with the answer, I am a composer, a musician. I'm an artist that deals with sound. Brad Pitt identifies himself as an actor. His response would be to, who are you? Well, I'm an actor. What do you do? I am an actor. In other words, you are what you do. That's why it's very, very important to define who you are first. And that, I believe, is the first stage of self-empowerment. Now, you're only human. We all get stuck in a rut. And sometimes even when we have identified who we are and know precisely what it is we want to do, circumstances, the situation that we find ourselves in, doesn't easily lend itself to giving us a direct ticket to where we want to be. But I can tell you this, having a strong sense of self, who you are, identifying that with what it is you know you're meant to do here on this particular planet, is really, really a great thing, because then you're clear on what your plan has to be and how you should execute that, notwithstanding the fact that you have those obstacles in the way. So I want to talk to you about this. This is the exercise right now, and I'd like you to consider, in the light of the 12 tribes or the 12 signs, that there are certain character strengths, character weaknesses that will help you identify what it is you're supposed to do, but primarily who it is that you are. And with that understanding, then comes the second prong of astrology, which is the predictive aspect, looking at the cycles and seeing when. So there are lines of resistance, lines of less resistance, and astrology can show us cyclically when who we are and what we want to do is going to be met with ease, or when it's going to be met with obstacles. And that's the real test, when you are stuck in that situation where, knowing what you want to do, knowing who you are, you don't have the means, or you don't have the support, or circumstantially, as we saw with Nelson Mandela, you cannot actually do what you want to do. He obviously had to put his plan on hold for 25 years. But interestingly, the plan continued to work without him actually being physically free. That power of intention, the sense of self and self-empowerment, or rather that sense of self and the circumstances around him, which gave him an even enhanced sense of self-empowerment. So think about that, and we have lots of opportunities there for you at the site. Free resources there. There's our what we call the inventories. There are little programs on the site that give you an insight. It's a question and answer scenario. It's absolutely free, but they're the sorts of things you need to do to help you gain an insight into yourself. Often we feel that we are simply this body, mind, and nothing more. But self-analysis will bring you to a deeper, clearer understanding of yourself. And that can only happen through critical self-analysis, through the process of self-inquiry. Without that self-inquiry, without contextualizing yourself in the history of your life, where you are now and where you want to be, you're not going to be able to self-empower. That empowerment is just not going to happen. There'll be too many layers of self-justification, too much clinging to the notion that I am who I am. So I would be asking you to, reconsider that and do it as an experiment. That's if self-empowerment means anything to you. But anyhow, I'm going to continue that theme into the 12 readings that I'm going to do now. I hope you'll hang around, and hopefully that will be of some use to you. Any questions, you can firstly subscribe here, and also don't forget, I'm more than happy to answer your questions if they're general in nature. Otherwise, a reading with myself or any of the other astrologers and psychics on the site will hopefully throw some more light on that for you. Take care, and now on with the 12 readings. Bye-bye.